The modern idea of furniture built specifically to make small spaces feel bigger, flat pack, modular, designed to be reconfigured as your life changes, didn't come from a design magazine trend. It came from Sweden, from a company most of you already have furniture from, without ever thinking about where that entire way of designing a home actually originated. Scandinavian apartments have been famously small for generations, and instead of treating that as a limitation to apologize for, an entire design philosophy grew directly out of solving it. Today, I'm showing you 12 specific Nordic small space principles. Some are pieces of furniture, some are habits, some are just a different way of looking at a room. And by the end, you'll understand exactly why a small Nordic apartment can feel larger than a much bigger room organized without any system behind it at all. Let's get straight into what you clicked for. None of these 12 ideas involve knocking down a wall, buying a bigger place, or spending a fortune. Every single one is about making the square footage you already have work harder, quietly, structurally, the way Scandinavian design has approached small living for decades. Before I walk you through them, I want to be transparent about what this video is. What follows is built from documented Scandinavian design principles and real, widely available Nordic storage practices, filtered through my own professional experience organizing small homes, my interpretation of it, offered for education and entertainment, not a strict rule book. Think of it as a genuine translation of a design culture, not marketing dressed up as tradition. I'm Freya Holm. I grew up in a small fishing town on the Danish coast, daughter of a teacher and a fisherman, in a house where every room did more than one job, simply because there was no other option. I trained as an interior designer in Copenhagen, and for 8 years, I organized small apartments for urban families, the kind of spaces where a hallway also had to be a mudroom, and a living room also had to be a home office by 9 a.m. What I learned in those years wasn't a set of tricks. It was a completely different starting question. Most design asks, how do we fit more storage in? Nordic design asks, how do we make every single piece of furniture in this room do more than one job? Here's the specific perspective I want you holding onto for this whole video. Scandinavian small space design was never really about owning less stuff, even though that's the version that gets repeated online. It's about refusing to let any single piece of furniture or any section of wall serve only one purpose. A bench that hides storage underneath, a shelving unit that also divides a room, a wall that holds just as much as a cabinet without taking a single centimeter of floor space to do it. That single mental shift, asking what else this piece of furniture could be doing, is doing more work in a small Nordic apartment than any amount of decluttering ever could on its own. Stick with me, because idea number 7 is one almost nobody thinks to use, and it's the single most effective way to double a small closet's actual capacity without buying a bigger closet at all. And idea number 10 is the one I see walked past in almost every home I've ever organized, a completely wasted strip of space that Scandinavian design has a very specific, very simple answer for, one you're going to want to go measure the second this video ends. If any of this is already reframing how you look at your own small rooms, go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you're new here. This channel exists to hand you the real system behind Nordic living, not just the aesthetic version people scroll past. And it genuinely helps to have you here for the rest of it. Let's start with idea number 1, the shift in furniture logic that everything else on this list builds on top of. Idea number 1, furniture that does 2 jobs, starting with what you sit on. I used to think a coffee table was just a coffee table. Flat, decorative, done. Then I organized a 19 square meter studio in Copenhagen, where the client had nowhere to store extra bedding, and we replaced her coffee table with a storage ottoman instead. Blankets, remote controls, the box of cables nobody knows what to do with, all gone, hidden under something she was already using daily. The excuse people give for skipping this is understandable. Matching purpose-built storage furniture can feel like an unnecessary upgrade when the plain version already works. But a bench, an ottoman, or a bed frame that doesn't also store something is quietly wasting the single largest flat surfaces in a small room. The shift: before buying any new seating or surface, ask whether a version with hidden storage exists first. It almost always does, and it almost always costs the same. Idea number 2, let shelving divide a room instead of a wall doing it. Open-plan small apartments have a specific problem. The living area and the dining area blur into one undefined space, and somehow that blur makes the whole room feel smaller, not bigger, because nothing has a clear edge. A tall, open-backed shelving unit placed perpendicular to a wall solves 2 problems at once. It creates a visual boundary between 2 zones, and both sides of it become usable storage. I did this in a Copenhagen apartment, where the kitchen table and the sofa were essentially touching. One modular shelf later, there was a dining side and a living side, and clients who'd lived there for 2 years told me the apartment suddenly felt like it had grown. It hadn't grown at all. It had just gotten organized into rooms your eyes could actually parse. The shift: if a wall would help define your space but you can't add one, a piece of open shelving usually can. Idea number 3, fold what doesn't need to stay open. A drop leaf or extendable table is one of the most underused pieces of small space furniture, mostly because full-size tables feel more finished, sitting permanently open. But a table that's only genuinely full-size 4 or 5 times a year for guests doesn't need to occupy that much floor daily. I've watched a dining table folded down to half its size open up an entire walking path in a small kitchen. Nothing removed, nothing sacrificed, just used at the size the day actually called for. The shift: any furniture with a folding or extending option should live folded by default and only open up when the occasion actually requires it. Most of us do the opposite out of habit, not necessity. Idea number 4, build up, not out. Wide, low furniture, a long, low dresser, a sprawling sideboard feels substantial, but it eats floor space for a relatively small amount of storage. A tall, narrow unit holds the same volume, sometimes more, in a fraction of the footprint, because it's using vertical space nobody else in the room is competing for. I made this mistake myself in my first apartment. A wide, low bookshelf that looked lovely and held embarrassingly little, taking up an entire wall to do it. When I finally swapped it for a taller, narrower unit, I gained storage and got roughly a third of that wall back for actual walking space. The shift: measure a piece of furniture by how much floor it takes relative to how much it holds, not by how solid or grounded it looks in a showroom. There's a thread running through all 4 of these, and I want to name it clearly because it's the actual engine behind everything else on this list. Scandinavian small space design treats floor space as the scarcest resource in the room, and everything else, walls, folding mechanisms, hidden compartments, as underused real estate waiting to take pressure off it. Once you start seeing a room this way, you stop asking, where can I fit more storage? And start asking, what in this room is only doing 1 job when it could be doing 2? We've covered the furniture logic that everything else builds on. What's coming next moves into the specific, almost invisible spaces. Closets, walls, the forgotten strip beside an appliance, where the same thinking turns wasted inches into real, usable storage, including that closet trick and the overlooked gap I promised you at the start. Idea number 5. Put the walls to work with an open rail system. In Danish and Swedish kitchens, you'll often see a slim metal rail mounted along the wall near the stove, holding hooks with utensils, small shelves, even spice jars hanging directly off it. The instinct in most homes is to keep walls bare and stack everything into cabinets instead. But cabinets fill up fast, while a wall rarely does. I installed one of these in my own kitchen years ago, mostly out of curiosity, and it quietly absorbed everything that used to clutter my counter. The shift. Before adding another cabinet or drawer, ask what could simply hang on the wall instead. Walls are the most underused storage in almost every home. Idea number 6. Pull the back of a deep cabinet forward instead of reaching into it. Deep cabinets, under sinks, in pantries, have a front zone that gets used constantly and a back zone that quietly becomes a graveyard. A simple sliding tray or pull-out basket brings the entire depth of that cabinet to you in one motion, instead of you disappearing into it elbow first. I didn't believe this one mattered until I put pull-out trays under my own sink and realized I'd been buying duplicate cleaning supplies for a year because I genuinely couldn't see what was already back there. And now, idea number 7, the one I promised, because it's the single most effective closet trick I know. Multi-arm, cascading hangers. One hook on the rail, 5 or 6 garments hanging beneath it on separate arms. Most closets don't run out of room because of how much clothing exists. They run out of hanging positions on the rail. I did this in a client's closet that felt genuinely impossible to work with. And without removing a single item, we recovered nearly half the rail, the shift. Before assuming you need a bigger closet, check whether you're actually out of clothes worth of space or just out of individual hook positions. Idea number 8, a fold-down shelf or desk mounted directly to a wall in a hallway or narrow corner. It costs almost no floor space folded flat and unfolds into a real work surface exactly when you need one. I've fit a full home office into an 18-inch hallway strip this way more than once. Idea number 9, storage built into what you're already sleeping on. A bed frame with drawers underneath turns the single largest piece of furniture in most bedrooms, one that otherwise does exactly one job, into genuine storage capacity without adding a single new piece of furniture to the room. And now, idea number 10, the gap I told you about at the beginning, the one almost nobody thinks to use. That narrow strip beside the refrigerator, beside the washing machine, next to a bathroom cabinet. In Nordic small space design, this gets filled with a slim rolling cart, narrow enough to slide directly into a 15 to 20 centimeter gap, wheeled, so it pulls out when you need it and disappears back in when you don't. I want you to actually go measure that gap in your own home after this video, because I'd guess most of you have one, and I'd guess it's been empty for years, simply because nothing was ever built to fit it. Idea number 11. Let your storage containers match. A shelf of mismatched boxes and bins reads as cluttered, even when it's technically organized. Your eyes process each one separately. Scandinavian homes lean on a narrow, consistent palette. Light wood, cream, sage, muted gray-blue. So a fully loaded shelf still reads as calm rather than chaotic. And idea number 12, the one that ties everything together. Open shelving that only holds what's earned a place in view. This is where storage meets the actual heart of Hygge. A decision filter, not a display case. Everything sitting in the open should be something you'd be glad to explain in one honest sentence, not just something you ran out of room to hide. Here's what connects all 12. None of them require a bigger apartment. Every single one takes the space already inside your walls and asks it to work twice as hard, vertically, structurally, quietly, instead of asking you to own less or move somewhere bigger. Tell me in the comments which number matches the exact problem in your own home right now. The closet, the forgotten gap, or the coffee table doing only one job. I read every single one. And if you know someone whose small apartment feels smaller than it needs to, send this to them. There's almost always a better answer than they think. And Nordic Design found 12 of them. I'm Freya, and I'll see you in the next one.